it's Strive452 back again, doing something that we haven't done for the better part of a year. But it's almost that time of year again with Christmas, so we're back with another Cosplay Podcast. Joining me this week are the amazing cosplayers.
J Jester Cosplay.
Zach the Striker Cosplay.
Fine, I'll go B. Hi, it's B.
Hi B. And lastly we have...
the Scottish Hollywood, or as he's now known as Roy Boy the Hachi Memes.
So the guys are with me here today to talk about the past year in cosplay. So that's 2018 in cosplay, guys. Jeez, 2018. That's scary already. So, we were kind of like slightly talking about a couple of things prior to recording there, like some of the cons that we've been to. I sadly have only been to one Comic-Con this year. But in my defense, it was a pretty big Comic-Con.
Yeah.
Sure.
You say sadly, but I'm sure that your wallet is thanking you.
Yeah, my wallet definitely is thanking me on this one. So I was at Edinburgh Comic Con this year. Now, I know that there's been some controversy for the people who live in the UK round about that particular event. We're not going to get...
Jai, sorry, just going to jump in here so people don't get confused. It's Comic-Con Scotland that you were at, because Edinburgh Comic-Con is the one run by James Lundy in April, just to clarify. Because we have so many cons in Edinburgh.
There's a difference between that because the Comic-Con Scotland, it was introduced, that was a brand new convention debut from this year. It was advertised since back in January and no one had there was no info since the very beginning when they first advertised it. Right. So it was kind of like a mystery, a little bit of disappointment in my opinion, because no one's heard of it. And then plus when the name came up, this new convention debut, I was not sure if I like it, to be honest, in my opinion.
Right. I don't know you guys if you're aware of this as well, but they did actually use photographs of cosplayers, and as far as I'm aware, without their permission. Because I spotted a few of them myself with people that I know down in England.
Yes.
So it's been a bit dodgy. I've heard mixed things about it. I mean, what did you feel about it, Di? Did you enjoy it?
Well, a little bit of a story on that one. I was just saying to the guys, you know, like there was controversy around some particular Comic-Cons in Edinburgh, and me personally, I don't get to spend a lot of time going out to Glasgow or to Edinburgh or to London. I've yet to even do a London Comic-Con. It's kind of on the bucket list, as it were.
Sure.
But I thought Edinburgh would be a nice place to go, and I would love to try and do the 2-day event. And I wasn't having to worry about one thing that most cosplayers worry about, which is accommodation. Because one of my cousins actually lives in Edinburgh. She goes to Edinburgh University. So I was like, that's one thing that my wallet will thank me for later. Okay. The other thing that my wallet thanked me for was travel in Edinburgh, because it's so cheap to get on a bus. Like, really cheap. So I was like, that's fantastic. The one thing that did antagonize me a little bit, and I was discussing this with Ellie Wood and Jester earlier, which was the pricing to get into the con. Now, I had been checking out their website quite regularly through the entire time, getting closer to it and closer to it, and I didn't want to ask to buy tickets online, because I just thought I'm not going to go through that, because chances are I would either leave them at home or, worst comes to worst, lose them. So I'll just pay to get in at the door, which is acceptable because a lot of people tend to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the website advertised if you were paying at the door, you're getting in for £16 or €16, let's say. I had to pay $25 getting in at the door. Now, I did argue this with the woman at the door and said, your website is advertising 16 and you can get done for false advertising. And she said, oh, that's nothing to do with me. That's nothing to do with me. Do you want in? And I'm like, well, yeah, but, you know, you could be done for false advertising. That's an issue. You might want to tell somebody about that.
It depends on. Right, I'm going to jump in here because I've done events and stuff like that myself. I've just finished doing my play for the year, so I kind of know a wee bit about this. It depends on what her level of involvement is. If she's just been one of the volunteers that's kind of come on recently to the project, then there's nothing she can do about it. She may very well have ended up passing it on to somebody, but there's nothing that she could have done. The central person is the centralised team who have caused a lot of issues and problems. I myself wasn't actually there, but I seen a large speech that they made, and I'm sorry, I know it might be controversial to say it, but see, when you're doing a Comic-Con for the first time in Scotland, you do not turn around and say that you are making history, okay? That is not making history. Do not be offended by this, guys. It is not. Going out there and making a huge difference to people's lives every single day. All of these people that get honoured by the Queen for years and years of work they've done in their community, they are making history. They are changing things. You doing a Comic-Con and pissing off a shit ton of people in the cosplay community deliberately, that is not making history. And then hearing this about you having to pay nearly an extra £10 on the door, you know, it doesn't really cast them in a good light.
I agree. No. Listen, I'm like, when I'm hearing this, right, I do agree with what you're saying, right? It doesn't make history because obviously that con is officially new, is like not like it's never tried before. It's like a wee trial, so you can't expect to make history because unless depending on the people, see if they like it or not. If they do like it, then obviously there is something, but you can't expect demanding it as like a massive guarantee. There's no guarantee. I mean, I you know, the way I see it is no guarantee on that, because that's just like being cocky. I would say it's a little bit showing off too much and being cocky. I was like, I've got this bit, the brand new con is going to be the best ever than the other cons. Like, no, you can't say that because you never know it unless you try.
You
try
have to
first.
come through.
I mean,
like, I think in terms of doing stuff like that, you have to come through a little bit cocky. You know, you have to have a little bit.
You can't get too cocky though, because otherwise, it will make it a little bit worse if anything goes wrong, and then depending on the people, and then plus the people who runs the con and the organizer. You need to be careful if you say it way too much. If you know what I mean.
There's a difference between being cocky and conceited.
And being flat out arrogant. And I'm going to turn around and tell you, as somebody who organises events and things like that, there is a difference between effectively advertising what you're doing as being a positive thing and turning around and belittling everybody else who does it because your stuff is amazing. It is beyond arrogance. And again, I don't feel if you're advertising something like I do with my shows, and you're being cocky about it, you're doing it wrong. You're not supposed to do that.
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
Material, what you're putting out there, being cocky or arrogant about it is actually going to help. And in actual possibly offending not just your customers, but offending other people who do cons. Because we have a lot of good cons in Scotland, and a lot of them contribute towards charities. Some of them remain the same, like Capital, it's always Chaz. Edinburgh Comic-Con, they change on a yearly basis which charity benefits from them, and it's all a balancing act. There is a huge difference between what he did and effectively advertising your convention as being something different.
No, it's definitely, I agree, right? It's true. I mean, so it's because the fact that, I don't know why, like, whoever said that, they need to actually rethink before they say it. And then also that if you're going to keep saying that, these kind of things, your ego, and also that the community is going to end up hating you so much, and also they will end up suing you for that as well. So, like, I do agree. I mean, what you're saying. I mean, like, definitely, because they need to be careful being cocky or for the ego and such. What they're saying and all that, because not just losing customers, you'll end up losing the whole cosplay community because of it. The way I see it. I mean,
to be fair, because we're veering a little bit off of track here. the cost itself was something that I pretty much just dropped after, like, saying my piece. I said, look, that's kind of a little bit iffy, you know, you might want to watch that. I had noticed the following day it was still the same price at the entry, and other people were contesting it, saying, you know, that they're pulling out their phones and saying, right, well, here's the price on the site. You know, like, why are you charging one thing at the door but advertising something completely different for the door? You know?
That's the problem that when I seen the prices, and that got confused me, and I was not impressed at all with the price, because every convention I've been to with all different prices, there are some are at okay price, and then depending on for reasons, but see the Comic Con Scotland, for example, for that very high price, and then I've seen ones for the kids. That's not right, because that's unfair for the kids and for the families. Don't have enough money to pay for that. It wouldn't be fair for them. Plus, you end up losing the customers as well for that.
Fair. I honestly thought that was going to, like, when I seen that and had to deal with that, I thought this is going to adversely affect how many people are going to be here today. I was sadly mistaken. There were a lot of people there. Like, I know there was always a lot of people at Comic-Cons in general.
Sure.
But there were so many people there, and it was just so interesting, because instead of it being the only Comic-Cons I'd ever really experienced up until then all took place in the kind of Glasgow area. And you guys who are in the Glasgow area know what it's like. Like, you're normally packed into one small-ish area or stadium kind of thing. This was so different. Like, you had all the celebrities in one room, plus some things that you can get your pictures taken with, like the DeLorean, the like things like Groot and all that kind of stuff in one room. And FYI, I did happen to see the guy who played Billy in Gremlins. I saw Bret Hitman Hart, if you're a wrestling fan.
Yep, I heard about them. It's a shame that I'm surprised that he was as a guest to the Comic-Con, but it's a shame I couldn't be there. But I know a lot of Glasgow folks who are wrestlers, they want to meet him, but they don't want to pay the price of entering the con, if you know what I mean.
Lou Ferrigno was there. I didn't actually see him, but he was there. Actually, I did see him, because he was having a conversation with Bret Hart at one point, so I was like, that's a really interesting thing happening there. Also seen, I didn't see him, but I knew he was there, David Hasselhoff. The Hoff was there, as well as Johnny Five, which, if you guys pay attention to my Instagram, and I'll put the pictures in here so the viewers can see them as well. The Johnny Five robot was so amazing. It was like a movie prop that literally moved. And I'll tell you this funny story, which will probably get repeated like 2 more times, but who cares? Because it was mechanical and it could move, you could get your picture taken with it, kind of thing. And I saw this little kid who was only, I want to say 5, maybe 6 years old, standing getting his picture taken, and he just thought that the eyes changed colour, and he got such a fright when its arm moved up. Just like, you could tell, oh my god, this kid's going to start screaming, but he just kind of like seriously jumped when he seen it happen, and I was like,
alright. I see.
So you had all the celebrities and such lights in one room, and then you moved down between like 2 sets of escalators, which another funny story with that in a bit, to the other end of the hall where you had all of your selling stuff. Now that room was packed. Like, I could not move in that room whatsoever. But that
what day was it? Was it fully packed though? Because it's a 2-day convention.
It was primarily the Saturday, so the 10th of November. It was really, really busy on the 10th. The Sunday, I wasn't there the entire day on the Sunday, but from what I could tell, it was starting to pick up right around the time I was leaving. So I was like, that's kind of makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And all the cosplay stuff is actually up the stairs on their, like, not entry level, but the first floor kind of thing. A lot of the stuff that we were attending would be in, I would say, the basement level. But it was absolutely fantastic, and there was so many people there dressed up. You had people dressed up as Ghostbusters, you had people dressed up as Deadpool. There were a lot of Deadpools there.
There typically is.
You had one or two people dressed as Harley, and I even did my Harley the second day. I did my first time doing my psychiatrist Harley Quinn, which was so much fun to do because, like, it didn't get as much attention as my first costume, which I'll keep a lid on that for the moment.
Okay.
Even though it's been done.
Fair enough.
So the psychiatrist one didn't get as much attention as the second one, but it was a hell of a lot warmer than my first one. Because my first one, not to say that I was showing skin, because I learned my lesson from the year I did Poison Ivy in October.
I remember that story.
Oh, yeah, like, that was just all levels of cold and frigidness at once. But
Enough said.
yeah. The first one got a lot of attention, and it got a really big amount of attention from two of the cosplay judges that were there. And
How many cosplay judges were there, though?
there was Little Bo. She
Okay.
was there.
Oh, okay. I didn't know she was a part of the cosplay judge. Oh, that's the first time
she
I've ever heard
was
of.
there. She was there as a guest and there to judge. And I actually got photographs done from her dad. So if Little Bo or her dad are listening to this, you need to send me through those pictures, please.
All right, I see. No, that's fine. Yeah, sure.
Little Bo was there. The UK Arrow and his girlfriend were there.
Okay.
And there was a woman who goes by, I think it's Crystal Wolf. She was there as well.
Oh, Crystal Wolf, yeah. I know
And
her.
I
Yeah.
spent a long time speaking with her as well, like on the second day, because she had this really cool prop that I'm attempting to make that's like a snapping plant.
Sure.
It looks very much like Seymour from Little Shop of Horrors.
Feed me, Seymour. Feed me.
Pretty much. And I wanted to ask her, and I haven't had the opportunity to ask her yet, so I might send her a message like, was it paper mache you used? But I did take a picture of it, so...
Okay.
But I spent a real crap ton of time speaking to the UK Arrow and his girlfriend, who were actually dressed as the TV versions of Black Canary, so Laurel Land's Black Canary, and Arrow himself, obviously. And it was actually one of them that approached me on the first day, because I was dressed as Black Siren from the same show, and they were like, oh my god, like, I love your costume, who are you? Like, she asked who I was, and I was like, I'm Black Siren. So, but long time speaking with them, and it was so much fun. And I made 2 new friends, so yeah.
When you were talking to him, is that John?
The UK Arrow.
Yeah, is that John?
Very well could be.
Yeah, because I know he does. The guy I'm thinking of is down in England. He does Arrow, and he has his wife with him as well. So
Yeah.
I think it was John. It might have been.
He said to me that she's got kind of like orangey, like her natural hair colour is kind of orangey, and she's just really recently been learning how to make sure the wig is on perfectly, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's a pain in the butt. I think we can all
Yeah. He did actually, when he was speaking to me, he did actually invite me to a photo shoot that was happening for like CW characters, and for the life of me I can't remember where it was he said he was doing it, but he did say there was a gender bent Green Arrow girl that was going to be there, and that I would probably contrast with her really, really well. And I'm like, as long as it's not in a place that's really, really windy and cold, I don't care.
I see.
But But who knows, there might be an inside cosplay interview with them in the near future. Who knows? I don't know. Haven't really spoken to them. But the costume itself, I haven't posted any or many of them on my Instagram or Facebook just yet because I wanted to try and get all of the pictures I had done. But it was so much fun to do, and I even had a sound file on my phone so that I could press it and do the scream kind of thing. A really funny thing, when I went up to do the masquerade, I played it and it wasn't loud enough, and the audience were kind of like looking at each other. And there's a picture where the MC is trying to like reach behind me to where my phone is so that she can place the mic at it, and she pulls this really weird face. That was taken by a professional photographer, and I remember her saying the day after, like the Sunday, oh, I'm really sorry that I didn't mean to pull that like weird face. And I'm like, what are you talking about? You didn't pull a weird face coming up to me when I like waved hello at.
Yeah.
And she then explained it was the thing, and I was like, oh, well, that's fine. I haven't seen Facebook at all recently, so you're fine. But then I seen it and I laughed at it, so it was kind of funny.
And sometimes it shows some like funny side, like when you look at it, you're like, oh, you know what, I find it funny. You know what I mean? So
definitely.
I get that a few times anyway. You know what I mean? So
I feel for people when they feel kind of bad about stuff like that, and I'm such a laid back person when it comes to that kind of stuff. Like, I really don't care. It's as long as you're having fun. I was having fun at the time. It's all good.
Yeah. It's definitely all good. It's just the fact that I know some photographers are very concerned, but as soon as you explain to them, it's like, yeah, I'm very chilled out, so don't worry about it, man. And like once I see it, I'll let you know that I like it. You know what I mean? I find it funny. I mean, and then he'll show the humour of it. So
the amount of people that actually came up to me on the first day just asking for photographs was mind-boggling. Like,
sure.
B was saying earlier on about how that event in particular had other cosplayers' pictures being used. You could tell with the amount of like photographers that were coming up and people taking pictures that it was necessarily the first time that event had happened, and that they wanted to build a portfolio, so to speak. And that, in a sense, it helps the event and it helps the cosplayer that is being featured as well. So I can see a negative side from not asking permission, but I can also see a positive side if permission was kind of granted by these people.
It depends on the person, I would say, if they're like asking for permissions. So it only depends on a person and how they feel first, and then sometimes you don't know it, sometimes you don't realise it, and then it's better. Sometimes it's better asking just in case due to the safetyness and the copyright and all that such. So it's just the safetyness.
Also, depending on the career of the cosplayer too. I have a few friends who are in the medical field, and due to their job, they cannot have pictures of themselves tagged or on social media in certain costumes. Like one of my friends, she's a nurse. And because of that particular field of career, she's not allowed to have certain types of photos on social media.
Oh, okay.
And typically when you go to a convention, if the convention has photographers hired on to like be walking the floor, taking pictures of people and asking for pictures, or like coming up and be like, hey, I'm with the convention, do you mind if I take your picture?
There's quite a few.
Generally, it's a verbal consent where if you say yes, you're consenting to the fact that your picture may be used. And even then, when you consent to a picture, the person, due to copyright laws of photography, if you consent to a picture, the photographer owns all rights to that photo that they have taken.
Yeah.
So if let's say I were to come up to a cosplayer with just my phone and I'd be like, hey, can I take your picture? Your costume's amazing. And they were like, yes, that picture is owned by me to do with what I wish. Now, generally, a good photographer, like and I mean good as in like common sense and like sociable, will be like, hey, here's my card. Do you mind if I use your photo or post it on here? If so, would I be able to tag you? And if I'm able to tag you, what is your tag that is preferred to be used? But a lot of photographers or people who are just starting out and taking pictures and getting into that field tend to not ask that, and they just assume because they have the right that they can just go ahead and do it. And even though they have rights to that photo, it does not necessarily mean that you can just go and post any picture, because, you know, the cosplayer might find that it's unflattering, or that it's in poor taste, or they may not want that a picture of themselves used publicly. There was an issue that I had at a convention where I was Joker, and I had a bunch of Harley Quinns with me, and the photographer, you know, took our picture and everything. And typically, the photographer doesn't have to ask permission to post the pictures into an album. But come to find out, these pictures were for sale on different types of like canvases, mugs, or you could even buy commercial rights to the photo. Oh. And when you're doing that and you're making a profit off somebody else's image, typically you're supposed to consent to allow that. So I had to email the photographer and be like, hey, so though we consented to this photo and the photos are amazing, myself and the Harley Quinns are not comfortable with the fact that you are selling our likeness or our photos of us on your site for coffee mugs, posters, portraits, prints, let alone commercial rights. Because at that point, anyone who bought commercial rights to the photo could use those in advertisement, and God only knows what kind of advertisements that would be used for.
Mm-hmm. 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 So, guys, bear that in mind if somebody decides, hey, you know what would be really cool? We could do this photo scene, and it'd be like a boudoir-style shoot with your character like this. Just remember, you get those titties out, that's it. Can't get rid of it. Internet knows.
On that note, too, when it comes to boudoirs, nudes, lewds, whatever, especially in the cosplay community,
stay far away from
them. The typical consensus is they pay you for that because you are exposing yourself to your comfortability, of course, but generally it's not up to the cosplayer to pay for those types of shoots, because that kind of imagery is a privilege.
Mm-hmm. Oddly enough.
Exactly. There are people who have died to see Harley Quinn's boobs. Usually because jokes like stab you in the face.
Oddly enough, that was one of the biggest things that I was so worried about doing Black Siren. Because,
well, getting your boobs out.
No, well, having a wardrobe malfunction, and I did have one, but it wasn't as like, holy crap, the everything's hanging out as I thought it would be. So the costume itself is a really, really big long jacket that has netted sleeving, and then like another kind of thing over the net. And underneath that, I was wearing a kind of slim vest because the material of the jacket's really, really thin. And I wasn't, like, going to do the Poison Ivy thing over again. I was like, I'm going to at least wear something underneath that.
You learned your lesson.
Yeah. So I had to cut the vest in the same shape. And it was kind of, like, straggling half, like, towards the end of the day, it was kind of, like, coming through the jacket. It was, like, sitting just off of the jacket, so I was constantly having to tuck it kind of in, and I was just thinking to myself before a photograph, I was like, I hope to God that this jacket just stays in place, because I'd already had an issue with the zip on the jacket when I was putting it on. The zip didn't go in right, so it kind of like broke when I zipped it up. And
oh boy.
Like, it didn't break. The zip just pulled away from the other side kind of thing, and I was like, I need to try and unzip this. So I'm standing there in a really constrained toilet that, quite frankly, didn't smell so great. But I'm trying to, like, pull this zip down.
Public restrooms wouldn't.
Oh, yeah, that's a public restroom in general for you. I'm trying to pull this zip down, And I'm like, it's not working. And I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? So, but I managed to get it sorted out and done. But yeah, the entire day I was like, oh, I hope to God I don't have a slip.
I've only had 2 wardrobe malfunctions. The one with Poison Ivy happens pretty much all the time. Like, if you want to know where I am as Poison Ivy, just follow the trail of leaves.
Yes. Yes.
Fall from me as I walk. And the other one was wearing this corset thing as Wanda one time. And because, it's a corset, it's got straps and things like that, you don't wear a bra. And my friend, I think it was Mark, was just like, honey, you know how much I love you? I'm like, yeah, I love you too. And he was like, just, you maybe need to adjust the boobs. Very much boobage. Yeah. Like, I have a fiance here. Why is he not saying anything? Of course he's not saying anything. He's just see my boobs. So I'm like having to hitch this thing up over my boobs, which if you've met me, they're pretty massive. So it's not exactly an easy thing to do.
Do you know
I ever thought of you? And I'm here just holding this corset, trying to pull my breasts back into place, and I'm like, can you give me a minute? My wardrobe isn't quite working the way it's supposed to.
So you know the one thing, like, after doing Black Siren, I have a newfound respect for the female gender in general. And it's because, I'm not sure whether I told you about this, B, but I had to wear leggings, like leather-looky leggings, like the skin-tight ones. And just putting them on, I was so scared that they were going to rip.
Yep.
And I'm like, okay, I've gotten them up past my knee. I'm doing good. I've gotten them up towards my thigh. Doing great. Oh, I'm at the butt. Oh dear God. And I only managed to get them up and sitting on, like, my pelvis bone kind of thing. And I'm, like, terrified to move in them. And I kept asking my cousin, because, like, I wore them underneath my trousers, and before I put my trousers on and pulled them right up, I was like, can you see any, like, tears? Is there a hole anywhere in these? And she's just sitting there kind of, like, saying, your leggings are fine. And I was like, great, I'll put on these trousers and get my top on, and then we can do my makeup. Weirdest conversation ever to have with a relative.
Just don't stretch.
Well, I could stretch in them.
Otherwise,
I could stretch in them. They were like a size 10, and I just kind of like, I even said that to my cousin. I was like, I'm really glad to it's really good to know that I can fit into a woman's size 10 leggings.
Yeah, just rub it in, why don't you, Jai? Just rub that in.
See, I also can understand the feeling for and the newfound respect for the female gender, because after having to find thigh-high, high-heel stiletto boots for my him cosplay, oh, let me tell you, walking around in those for 8 hours, the pain started to actually instigate real rage, to the point where my friends and I, who are all in very comfortable cosplays, are trying to decide where we're going to go for lunch. And for like a half hour straight, we're just standing in one place deciding where we're going to go. And finally, I had enough. My feet are screaming at me. I'm standing in one place. I've been in these heels for like 6 hours. And finally, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to fucking go to Dunkin' Donuts and get some fucking munchkins, because seriously, I cannot stand still right now. I got to walk or my feet are going to fall off.
For me, it was the jacket. Like, my jacket came down literally right towards my feet kind of thing. It's a very long thing. And I was telling B about this. I had to sand that jacket because it when it came to me originally, it was so shiny, like really, really shiny, and you could tell it was PVC by just looking at it. And I was like, I need to make this PVC look leather, and I had to sand it all down, and it took me forever to do it. But when I was walking up and down escalators, I literally was terrified that it was going to catch on the escalator itself. So I found myself just kind of very cautiously holding it up a little bit. But by the time it got to about, I think, 6, maybe 7, in the day, I was just like, oh, you know what, I don't care. If it catches in the escalator, it'll be fine. Who cares?
Have you seen me when I have to use an escalator for either snow or Wanda? It's like I practically have everything hitched up to my knees and wrapped in front of me. So I've got this big, massive load of clothing right tucked in front of me, and I'm just like, "Hello, everybody. Yes, I do have wonderful ankles, don't I?" Because I at the risk of it being
I think my favorite escalator mishap that I've seen was, and I don't know if anyone here is an Overwatch fan.
Yes.
But there was a Reaper cosplayer who got his coat caught in the escalator, and a Mercy cosplayer is trying to help him get the cloak out of the escalator. So you've just got Mercy trying to help the Reaper get his cloak out.
I seen that. When I first seen that, I could not stop laughing.
Oh yeah,
I couldn't stop laughing, even though I'm a huge fan of Overwatch. And then I've seen so many funny things of Overwatch cosplayers and stuff, but this one, what I've seen, it was pretty hilarious by far.
Oh yeah, and the Reaper cosplayer just looked so defeated. Like he's just hanging his head while the Mercy is trying to rip the cloak out of the escalator steps.
I feel sorry for the guy.
Poor bastard.
Abandoned that.
I've
seen what happens with escalators. I'm terrified of going on an escalator now.
cosplay.
In cosplay, I do not like to go on escalators at all, especially as Royal Eliwood, because cape, I don't want that caught at all.
Now,
always wrap it up. Always grab the cape before you go on escalators.
Yes, exactly.
That's my advice.
My first time on an escalator wearing the high heel boots, I was gripping the railing for dear life, and my friend is laughing his ass off. He's like, "Have you not worn them yet?" I'm like, "Not on an escalator," and of course, I can't really grab the railing that well without wrapping my whole arms and elbows because I've got lobster claws.
Do you know what bugs the living F out of me?
Yeah.
Like, when people say that, like, have you not worn them before? And it's in situations where you're going in an escalator in particular, that really annoys me. It's like, yes, because I happen to have an escalator in my house.
To be honest,
the shed. It allows me to descend down to hell every so often to visit Lucifer and ask him who's on the comedy club in hell that evening.
Oh my gosh! But see how the Reaper got caught by the cape with the escalator. Mm-hmm. Someone dropped a comment on Facebook. Like from the very first comment, it said "No capes from The Incredibles." There was a lot of likes. There was like over 200 likes, and then I liked it as well. I was a part of that, and then I found it hilarious. And then just like I couldn't believe it when someone thought of that. I mean, it's like no capes, and I'm just like,
do you know the funny thing? Do you know the really funny thing? I think you reposted that, and I remember looking at that, and I just finished watching The Incredibles 2 at the time, so I was like, yep.
Oh, jeez.
So let's hear about some of the cons that you guys have been to. Like, I've spoken about that one. It's the only one I've actually been to this year. So what about you guys? Where have you guys been this year?
Who's starting? You want me to start?
Who would like to go first? Anybody like to go first?
I can go first if you want. I mean, sure.
Yeah, you go first.
Right. Before I explain the cons I went to, I in my personal opinion from this year 2018, I would say it's been an amazing year in my entire life for this year, like by far, because I've done before I started the beginning of the new chapter of 2018. I made a new New Year's resolution, basically. So basically, everyone has a New Year's resolution after New Year's Day or whatever and such. And then me and my friends were like, it was like 3 of us, I think. We had a discussion, like, sat and talked like about during our New Year's Day and all that. And then we're like, okay, what's your New Year's resolution day? Like, what are you gonna do for it? And I was like, you know what? I want to stay positive for 1 year for once. I mean, because I've been so having a hard time during last year, kinda. So I was like, you know what? Let's make it a really, really good positive 1 year. And then it has been really good 1 full year, I would say, because of the cons. I went to, like, amazingly, and the new cosplays I've had as well from this year. I never knew I had that many, to be honest, like for new cosplays. I usually get about 3 or 4 new costumes during 1 year or something like that. But this year I had like about 8 or 9, roughly, or 10. So that was it was like ridiculous though. It was like mostly the easy ones I can cosplay that I can just make it easily, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I couldn't believe it. And then all the budget I had to spend on it wasn't too bad. And then the cons that I went to, basically I went to 2 brand new conventions actually this year. It was like an open opportunity that I took it, and it was like a dream come true. You know what I mean? If I didn't take it, and I would probably end up regretting it after if I didn't go.
So that's how I felt with the Edinburgh one. You know, I felt as if I don't do this now, it's the only time I get the chance to.
Yeah, basically the cons that I went to are like in July was like, it's called Amicon. Basically, it's like it's a 3-day convention. It's like over 18+ convention. It's like pure hardcore party convention, if you know what I mean. So that's something that I want to try out, and it was so much fun. It's a bit similar, same as the convention called KetterCon last year. They were like a connection, like the 2 name brands of the name convention. So they were together. So that's one of the cons I never tried before. So I decided to go to Amicon. So it was really fun. I got to reunite with the friends I've not seen in ages since last year, or even. Like, I've seen their costumes; they're fantastic. Met loads of new people there. The weather was pure humid, which I loved. I mean, so I wore the costumes that I'm happy with. So at least I'm not wearing too like crazy leather or even something that's the color black color. You know what I mean? Because it would roast me to death.
Crazy leather is a good thing. It keeps you semi-warm.
Sure, but for me, I couldn't though. I just couldn't though, because like I nearly collapsed before. Like it was just not me. It's not for me. But yeah, Amicon, it was really good. I really enjoyed that a lot. It was a good laugh, and then the after parties were okay, but there were, mostly a lot of people hang outside more than the inside of the building of the party. To be honest, but which is quite funny. I found it hilarious. But it's just one side of the problem is that the people who are outside partying, like outside the streets, they never throw their trash away, or like they were actually dropping so much litter of bottles and everything else. It was just so disrespectful, if you know what I mean. Like that was the one bad side of it, which I found it really sad. You know what I mean, for the people to clean up and stuff. So
let's talk about your cosplays that you've done this year. Because you kind of mentioned that you managed to get 9 done this year.
It feels like I've done 8 or 9.
Jesus, 9 costumes in a year?
That feels like 8 or 9. That feels like a goal for me.
That's our Henry.
I didn't expect it.
That feels like a really good goal for me, because this year I did the 2, but I got a third one like ready, and it's one that I've spoke at length with a lot of people about, and whether I should and shouldn't do it, kind of thing. Cause
sure.
It wasn't necessarily me that wanted to do this one.
Yeah.
So, tell us about what you got done this year. So, who was the first?
The first costume that I started making, if it was back, I did think about this for 1 year, and after 1 year, I decided to go for it from February or January roughly when I started making a costume. It took me a time. I never told anyone about this until about April or roughly May, or between those months. I showed off my new cosplay, like nearly finished new cosplay. It was a Pokemon cosplay I was making, and I basically cosplayed one of the characters called Magneton, based on one of the electric type Pokemons. Yeah, basically it's an unusual costume, you know, to make or whatever and such, and it's never been done before during any around the other UK cons, I would say. I know the US have done it, but they're slightly different compared to mine. I made that costume. I can't believe I made it. Like it was so easy, basically, pretty much. It took me 2.5 weeks to make it, because there was a lot of testing. There's a lot of costume props testing and such to make sure it malfunction going again, to make sure that there's no loose ends or missing bits and pieces, and make sure that it's fully solid to to get ready for a convention, and then I introduced that costume like a week. Basically, I went to Rycon, right, during spring. If it was back in May, I entered the cosplay competition or masquerade with my new costume, and nobody have seen it. And when I showed up in backstage with my new costume, a lot of people were like jaw dropped and surprised. They'd never seen that. I mean, that's something that I'm so happy and I'm proud of. I mean, to show them like a wee teaser or something like that. And then when I was on stage in the cosplay competition as the new Pokemon character of Magneton, I can tell a lot of people have jaw dropped their faces because they've never seen that. And then after I've been off stage, I had a few of my friends in the backstage or after the competition, they were asking me, it's like, oh, how do you make that costume? And it looks fantastic. And then like I'd never seen that. It's like, that's amazing. I was like, thanks. I was so nervous to show everybody with it, and then it was just so crazy, and I was so happy ever since after that. On that day with my new costume, it was just like, it was just mind blowing. I mean, I feel very blessed by it. I mean, making that costume, and I've been wearing it for the last couple of times during different conventions, and I never got sick of it since. It was just so much fun. For the other costumes, there's a few of them I bought as well. You know what I mean, but not very too expensive. But most of them are quite cheap. So I wore like a Final Fantasy costume a few times, and
that's somebody dropping something there.
I wore a Final Fantasy costume a few times, the new ones. I wore other anime characters, new costumes, but they were mostly cheap, so I bought them some from online and shops, like to get a perfect match for the pictures for it. So it worked really well. And also, like, I've done quite a few good costumes for the past this year. I mean, like, not too expensively, so I basically managed to save my budgets for exactly the price, not to spend over like £80 or even over £60, just exactly maybe 50 or under, I would say. Even bits and bobs you get from the shops and put it together. So it's been a really good balance for me for the new cosplays that I had this year, and a lot of people are really liking it, and I got really good feedbacks from it, and then just it totally made me happy. I felt like there was a difference compared last year, like from it, the cons I went to and the costumes I had last year, so I feel happy with that. And then another convention I forgot to mention, there was another convention I went to called MCM London. That was like the biggest event I ever been to from this year, because I know it's a big event, and I went there for a full weekend, the full weekend that is, and it was like, I would say that convention was like my holiday vacation, I would say, because during usually May or roughly at that point, I usually get my own holiday vacation, roughly. And then I went to MCM London for the very first time, and it was so different compared to every other cons I've been to. A lot of amazing cosplayers out there, and then I took a lot of photos and I gave them my business cards, made a name for myself, and then a lot of people have never met a Scottish guy before, so that was impressive for me. And then
interesting, considering how many of Scotland's people actually go to London. Yes,
and plus I had I made new friends with some folks, and then they like my Scottish accent, which I give a nice compliment from that. And then their costumes were just fantastic, and then I've been to a lot of meetups as well to experience it, and I was a part of one of the meetups as well that I cosplayed. I was Final Fantasy I think for Saturday, and then I was part of one of the meetups. It was the biggest meetup I've ever been to, and it was like a dream come true when you're there, and I mean, like, to experience it and then be with new people around you, and then you feel like you have a connection with them when you talk to them. So it was just
something that I need to do at my next con, is to do a meet up with some people, because I don't think it's something I've done yet.
Yes.
Enough. Like, I've been invited to a lot of them. Like, a lot of people say to me, like, hey, come do this meet up with us, and I'm like,
you're not sure.
Unfortunately, I'm only here for a couple of hours, and I kind of want to do the con.
No, it's fine. I mean, if you're wearing the same costume, if you're wearing the costume as that, the same series, and then you want to be a part of it just for a little bit, and then it's no problem. If you know what I mean, so people would not mind that. If you know what I mean, so. But the experience I went to MCM London was just incredible, and I went to the inside the convention was massive. It's definitely felt like a holiday vacation. I felt happy after that, and there was just so much to do that I got the chance to do loads of things when I was there. And the people that I met, and they were fantastic, and the people that I know familiar faces with, and then they didn't realize I was coming to MCM London. They were just like I found it laughing at so much. I was like, well, I'm glad they're happy that I'm here. I mean, so just I got to hang around them and catch up with a lot of people that I know of. So it was fantastic. The weather was really hot. I mean, like during summertime, it felt like build up of it during May. Mm-hmm. It felt the costumes I was wearing. There were 3 brand new ones, but I kind of regret one of the costumes I was wearing because it was too hot. And I feel like
which one was that?
It was an anime fighting game, but it was just it was mostly the color black of it, the costume of it. But I kind of regret wearing that because I never knew how hot it was. So it was like 30. It was like kind of like a 30 degrees down there, I would say. But it was worth it. I mean, me going to that con.
There was two. Oh, I think we're having a little issue on Justin's. Sorry, you were just getting a little bit of static off you, hon. There was 2 instances that I'm reminded of, like when you're saying that one costume made you really, really hot. There was one person I met in Edinburgh that did not have that issue whatsoever.
Sure.
And I remember like saying to you, because I spoke to you that night briefly on my first day. Peter was somebody that I met.
Right.
And he was doing his Mexican wrestler costume.
Oh, so, yeah, I know the guy, yeah, Peter. Yeah.
He definitely didn't have the cold issue. Well, the warm issue. He may have had the cold issue, but not the warm.
Yeah.
Did anybody recognise you in any of your costumes that you did? Or just recognise you for being you?
Well, for me, I had a few times during Friday or the convention when I was in London. A few times, not a lot. Saturday I got noticeable, and Sunday I got noticeable as well. Like a few times more than Friday. The costumes I was wearing. Mm-hmm. I felt happy. You know what I mean? Because it was something new that I can join and embrace it. If you know what I mean, just to like show off the costume I've got. You know what I mean? So it was fantastic. And then it was when I saw the other people's costumes, and I had to speak to a lot of new people. Of like most of them that made their own costumes, so I got to talk to them more about how they make it and such, and then learn the advice and such. So it was fantastic. I learned a lot. I have learned a lot when I was there, and it was crazy.
The reason I asked that question is the first day I was there was a girl there that's been to some of the Glasgow conventions that I was also at, and even in costume, she knew who I was.
Right.
He came right up to me and said, "Oh, you're so and so. You've done Harley Quinn multiple times before at Glasgow Comic Con," and I'm like, "How the hell do you know who I am?" Because like me looking at myself in costume, I hardly recognize myself. So I was like, if you can recognize me, that's something. Well done."
I get it a few times. It was pretty cool though, because like you don't. Sometimes you don't expect it, which is a good thing. Because people are excited to see like the costume that they know you're going to wear and such, and then they might have seen you in social media or maybe somewhere else, or maybe photos or videos. I mean, before that day, so it was good though. I mean, so it helps it just shows that like the passion of this cosplay, and it just shows the like. You actually enjoy being part of the convention and the part of the cosplay community and such. And then I've been doing it like for the past for so long, and I mean I've still got a few more years So.
Oh, somebody's got a fire alarm going there.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, someone's got a fire alarm. Also, that on London, I got to meet the 3 different special guests. Actually, I was like a dream guest that I met. It was like a dream come true, and then I was into tears. I was almost into tears, to be honest. Basically, I met the guy named Jess Harnell. He voiced over a few different cartoon characters, movie characters, and even video game characters as well. So he was like my childhood that I looked up to since I was 17. So, so I spoke to him. He gave me he said nice compliments to me when he first met me, and I was just so blown away. And then I got a photo with him next to him. He was just amazing. Like that guy was like genuinely cool guy. He was really sound. He was very relaxed. So, and then I said to him that I looked up to you when I was a teenager at the age of 17. He was just like, wow, he basically was surprised and never saw it coming. And I told the whole truth about it. Like, I basically grew up watching this, and then I played this video game. So he felt really happy, and then, and then he gave me a really nice compliments, like, totally. Another guy there was a second guest that I met was he was, I think it's a Final Fantasy voice actor.
Troy Baker.
No, not just Troy Baker. No, it wasn't Troy Baker. It was someone else that he was played one of the movies from the Final Fantasy. He plays one of the members, and then I got to speak to him. I was really nervous to talk to him, but he was generally a relaxing guy. Like, I could not believe it. I was just so nervous to talk to him. I'm so glad that I had a friend next to me, because he was just supporting me all the way. Because if I was by myself, I could not able to get an autograph sign at all.
I think out of any kind of like celebrity I've met, the only one that's ever really shell shocked me, is one of the Dawnish girls from Game of Thrones, and it wasn't because she was on Game of Thrones.
Right. Okay.
It was because I knew her from another TV show.
Okay.
And that was oddly enough the year that I was dressed as Poison Ivy, because I remember telling some of you guys the story of the fact that she was with either her fiancé, boyfriend, or husband, and when I was trying to straighten out the veins on my arm, I had to extend my arm out and behind me.
Oh, wow.
I almost smacked a guy in the face, because he was walking around to come out next to the area where I was, and I just had to move my arm back, and I did it so rapidly, I nearly caught him. And she's sitting there laughing her ass off at this, and I'm apologising profusely to this guy, and she's just like, "Oh!" And I'm like, "That's so really nice of you to laugh at your friend's misfortune."
That's really
cracked
cool.
in the face.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. I mean, even though if they found it really funny, like it was an accidental funny, then at least they'll take it. I mean, so another third guest that I met, this is the best one, right? I ever met, right? On Sunday at MCM London, I got to meet an Overwatch voice actor. It was played by a character. It was I think it was Lucy Paul, played as Mercy character from Overwatch. When I spoke to her, I spoke to her normally. I was like, "Oh, I'm a huge fan of like this video game and blah 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 stuff." And I was speaking in Scottish, obviously, when I was talking to her. And then she was like, "Oh, I love your accent. Are you from Glasgow?" And I was like, "Yes."
How did you know?
And then I was like, "How does he know that?" I was like, "No freaking way." And then she was like, "That, are you from Glasgow?" And I was like, "Yes." I was like, "Oh, give me a high five, man." And I was like, "Oh my!" I was after high five. I was like, "What?" I was like, "What? How?" I'm just like, "No way!" I'm just blown away. I was just like, I could not believe that. And I was like, I will definitely remember this. I mean, in my for a long time, because even though I couldn't get it on photos or videos, or I couldn't get a photo next to her, or ask a photo. I couldn't get her videos because as well. But I experienced it, what I've seen and witnessed. So I'm really happy with that. In that point on, so I got an autograph signed, definitely. So
yeah.
But it was just the best experience. And then I told my friend from London, he was with me all the time. I told him what happened. He was like, "You're joking." I was like, "I'm not joking, by the way, it just happened." And he was like, "Damn it." I was like, "I wish I was there." I was like, "I know, right?" It was
I still think
funny.
the best interaction that I've had with a celebrity was my first year at Comic-Con. And I'm queuing to do the masquerade with a bunch of other people.
Okay.
And I was waiting for my cousin to pop along so that I could give him, like, all my crap.
Yeah.
And Hacksaw Jim Duggett walks past, and he gives me the grandpa wink at me because I'm like dressed as Harley Quinn at the time, and I'm like, holy crap, did that just happen? And I run over to my cousin and say to him, did you see who that was? Did you see who that was? And he's like, yeah, it was Hacksaw Jim Duggett. And I'm like, he gave me the grandpa wink. And
oh wow!
I shit you not, like there was 2 or 3 other people around us at the time, and they just looked at me with this kind of like, "Are you insane or something?" And my cousin and me were jumping up and down like little school kids, going, "Ee!" You know, that is the one thing I will never forget until the day I die. I will never forget that.
That sounds really cool. I mean, I find it really hilarious.
And it's just those little things, like, even though these are people who are extremely down to earth. Like,
yes.
They're so nice. Sean Astin actually gave me an autograph of him for nothing. For nothing.
Oh, that's really good.
I literally was so, like, again, that was the year I was doing Poison Ivy, and I was really, really tired by that point.
Oh, right.
And I was just like, I just want to give you this business card and go. And he's like, so, blah, 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 gives me the autograph, and I'm like, oh, awesome.
But that sounds really cool. Also, another funny thing, what happened when I was in MCM London, it was like during Friday night, because usually MCM London, they do have after parties. Like, it's really ridiculous. It's very different compared to Glasgow after parties and other ones.
Well, London does things.
What I've seen, it was crazy as heck. You know what I mean? I never imagined how mad they are compared with the Glasgow, Edinburgh, or any other places.
No offense to Glasgow, Edinburgh, or other places, but London doesn't do anything half-assed.
It was, the way I've seen it, it was crazy. It was crazy when I was there for the after party, and then the funny thing that has happened during Friday night, me and my good friend Joe, he lives in London, he was taking me around to the con, like a wee tour guide for me. So he was with me during the after party because he wants to show me it. We saw this group of cosplayers that were dressing up as the animation called Persona, and someone dressed up one of my favorite characters. She dressed up one of the characters that I loved, and then my friend Joe was next to me. He's like, "Do you want to get a photo? Do you want to ask her for a photo and such?" I was like, "No, it's cool. We'll move on anyway." And then 2 minutes after, he walked up to her and asking for a photo. He's like, "Oh yeah, can we get a photo? Because on behalf of my friend Henry, because he likes your costume and stuff." And my mind was like, "Joe, what are you doing?" I said no. I was like, no. I was like so embarrassed. Like my face went red completely right away, and I was like, shit.
I love it when stuff like that happens. Like,
it was so funny.
I've been doing cosplay for quite some time now, and it literally, like, the going to the event, because like while I was staying at my cousin's, like, her roommate was asking me questions about doing cosplay. She's like, so what's the etiquette like? Do you have to immediately put your hand in somebody's camera and say, no, I don't want my picture taken? And I'm like, no, you say to them politely, I'm okay with giving you a photograph, but if I'm eating or if I'm doing something else, like, give me my personal space, you know?
Yes,
but I find it really funny, like, now, because, like, when you're not in costume and you're a cosplayer and you're not in costume, but you see somebody, you're like, oh, that's so amazing, and I want to take a picture of it. And you kind of go forward to them, and then you think, oh crap, wait a minute. I can't bother them. I'll just leave it. I'll forget it, you know. And then you're like, damn it, I didn't get that picture.
Basically, after when I spoke to her in person, that eventually I asked for a photo now. She was asking me, "Is like, oh, I heard that you like Persona." I was like, yeah, I do, yeah. Just basically, I was so nervous to try to talk to her because like her outfit was just completely blew off my mind. You know what I mean? And then I started speaking to her, trying my best to talk to her, not make it too awkward. If you know what I mean. And then she was totally understanding what I'm going through, what I'm saying, and then she respects that, and she found it funny. She found it funny the way I got myself embarrassed. But at least I got to talk to her like normally in the end, you know, like just a normal person eventually.
A normal person.
Well, I felt awkward from the start when I was talking, but see, eventually I embraced it not to be awkward, just chill. You know what I mean? To talk. You know what I mean? So, but it was so nice of her. Like when I got a photo next to her and such, and then you know it was pretty cool, and I'll never forget that funny experience. That was pure funny I ever had. But it was the best holiday vacation I ever had, going to London, because I'll never forget that. You know what I mean? And then after the weekend, I had a lot of feedbacks from the new people asking me, "Oh, when are you going to come back, man? We love you. We love you having down MCM London again, because we love you as a Scottish guy and coming down, and just we never met, someone who's really far away. You know what I mean?" And I was like, "Oh wow, I could not believe that the people that I met, they were really amazing folks. I wish I get to know them more, if you know what I mean, like talk to them more, because they were just absolutely lovely, because the people I met in the right place in the right time. So it all depends on the person, how they meet, but myself, I've actually met people in the right place in the right time, so it was really good for me. And after MCM London, I went to MCM Scotland again, like as always. Basically what happened was I met 3 different special guests actually one day, on Saturday. Basically what happened was I met, the Overwatch Mercy that I told you about the moments ago. I met her a second time. Basically what happened was I came up to see her and say hi and see if she recognized me. And then I asked her, like, "Do you recognize me?" She's like, "Yeah, I met you from London, correct?" I was like, "Yes, I am. That's me, all right." So basically, we talked more, and then she gave me a high five again. She gave me a hug in the end as well. She was just like overwhelmed, like she couldn't believe that. I came to this con, and I said to, like, "Oh, thank you for coming to Scotland. We're definitely happy you being here again. I mean, I'm more happy to see you again, for an autograph or whatever and such, or even talk as well." But she was totally happy that I get to see her again. I mean, so just and then she was curious to ask my name. I was like, "Oh, what's your name?" I was like, "The name's Henry." I was like, "Oh, it's nice to meet you, Henry." I was like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe I met her the second time." So it was kind of crazy. So yeah, I talked to her, just to say hi and such, and then she was just lovely. And then after that, I met 2 other different Overwatch voice actors. So I was really, really nervous to talk to them. As soon as I talked to them, they were just very chilled out. They could laugh, and they did voice impressions from the video game. And then that totally blew out my mind. I was like, "Oh my gosh!" I almost cried after that because I just couldn't believe it. And my friend David was there as well. My friend James was there next to me, like nearby. So they get to witness it with my experience. So I was on top, not just top of the world, but I feel like I feel really blessed, and I just feel like this is like the highlight. I enjoyed my year of 2018 so much. You know what I mean? I had an amazing time in MCM Scotland. It was emotional. After that weekend, I've done so many things, like photos, videos, catching up with a lot of friends, and I was at the 1 or 2 meetups as well, and meeting the guests and stuff. It was the best weekend that I ever had. The MCM Scotland this year was the best one I've ever been to for the past couple of years of MCM Scotland. So this one was the best one I've ever been to. And then another convention that I went to was DCon, which is in Dundee. Basically, it was a really good convention. I enjoyed it, and then it was a good laugh. It was mostly a funny side, I would say. It was mostly good laughs, actually, because what happened was, before the convention, it was me, David, and a few Glasgow folks in a small group. We're on the road together. So before the end of the night, I think it was outside nearby the convention of DCon, There was a. You'll probably. I don't know if you've probably seen this video. You'll see a video of me chasing my friend David, which is Mental Haggis Cosplay. I chased him, but we did like a theme of like let's say it's Madagascar being one of the scenes of Alex and Marty chase. I would say. So we did like that kind of theme, and before the convention, it was just so funny. Me chasing David, and everyone would start laughing. And then as soon as I showed it on Facebook or other social media, everyone started laughing so much. And everyone's asking me and David why you decided to do this. I was like, we got bored. We decided to do something funny for entertain you guys, and I mean even myself. So and it was brilliant. I mean that's one of my favorite highlight moments.
Awesome.
You know, it was just so it was ridiculous, but it was funny.
So I'm going to have to move on, Henry, because
sure.
we've got quite a lot of people and we're at the 1 hour mark already.
Recording. Sorry.
1 hour or 24 to go.
Yeah, just
okay.
another 24
Sorry.
hours. That's fine, don't worry about it. So who would like to tell us about some of their cosplay events that they've been to and cosplays that they've done this year next? And if you don't say, I'm going to pick somebody at random.
Nobody say anything.
I've already done mine. So.
Miny, mo, catch a tiger by the toe. If he hollers, let him go. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. You are not it. Alright, so. Okay, B, you are up, hun. What's some of the events that you have been at this year and some of the cosplays that you have done this year, my darling?
Sorry, I just got to you the dinosaur.
Pardon?
Anyway, so I've only been at 2 cons this year. I've been a little bit busy with the
getting
writing,
married.
publication, getting married, honeymoon, jobs, plays, the whole shebang. So I've only been to 2. I was at Capital Sci-Fi Con and I was
at Capital Sci-Fi Con and where, sorry?
That's Edinburgh, both of them are Edinburgh.
Uh-huh.
So, Capital was, it was okay. I think anybody who's in the Scottish cosplay scene knows that there were some issues with the venue. I've said this before and I will maintain this for a very long time. There was nothing that Keith or the Capital Sci-Fi Con team staff could have done. The venue told them you have reached capacity for health and safety. They couldn't let anybody else in. If they did, they would have broken the law. And if something had happened in a venue with overcapacity, well, again, we all know what happened last time.
Can I ask a quick question on that one? For that event you were at, were the people from Critical Role at that?
I don't know. I can't remember.
I don't think so.
There was an event that happened that had the cast from Critical Role at it, and a couple of my friends went to go and see it, and they were at capacity, and the people didn't even get in.
I think I know. Sorry.
Sorry, I was just going to say, I think that was an England-based event, but it
I
had
think
a
I know
lot of controversy to it.
I think I know what you're talking about. One of my pals, Reese, went to that in MCM London, I think it was, and they missed one of the actors they were going to meet one day, but they met them the next day, which was lucky for them. So they got to meet all who they wanted to, but they felt it was a bit unorganised, that event.
Yeah. That's what one of my friends was saying. Like, the friend who went to go and see them only had the Saturday to go and see, and they couldn't get in at all, and they were really pissed about it. And they said, "No, we're just sticking to MCM." And I'm like, well, if you want to
Showmasters, then.
Yeah, I said to them, if you want to limit yourself to just either MCM or Showmasters, that's your business, but you should go to both. But sorry, B, we kind of interrupted you there.
Sorry.
Other events you were at, hun.
So, yeah, Capital was interesting for me. Some people recognised me. One of my best friends literally walked right past me. Because the cosplay I was wearing was an early and more conservative version of my Twi'lek Rapunzel.
Ooh.
Oh.
So I commissioned a lovely woman from, I believe it was Arizona, to build Leku for me because like your conventional Leku, it wasn't going to be long enough. My Leku for Rudaba, which is the original Turkish name for the myth, the story of Rapunzel. Rudaba's Leku goes down to just above my ankles.
Wow.
So it's pretty difficult to move it around when it's on your head, especially if people try and grab a hold of you. Like, no! You've literally got your hands on the band on your head, like, stop tugging it! God damn it! However, when it's cold, it's really, really good at keeping you warm because you can just wrap it around your neck and it's really
this is why I need to do. This is why I need to do one of the other cosplays that's on my bucket list, because the character I'm hoping to do doesn't wear a lot in the way of clothing, but they have really long Rapunzel-like hair. Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking that would be a great thing to do. If it's like a really shitty weather day in Scotland during the summer, I can be like, well, I can wear this cosplay, be warm one moment, and be utterly freezing the next.
Rudaba was interesting because my original version of Rudaba has not been seen in public. Because I have two versions of her. I have her slave version, and I have when she's liberated and she's killed her master and is on the road. Kind of
Did you get a lot of interest for the one that you did recently?
Which one?
Your most recent one, the one that you debuted.
That what I don't know what one you're on about.
The one that you did your event at. So did that get a lot of interest from people, or no?
I'm so confused.
Alright, the one that the Rudaba that you did most recently.
Yes.
Did that get a lot of interest?
Yes, it did. It got a lot of interest. Friends of mine who knew what the original version were just like, why aren't you wearing that? And I'm like, well, there's children here for a start off, and I really, really doubt they want to be seeing my panty line. The Rudaba that I have for the slave version, I got a hold of a leotard and we did design drawings together, so it's like a normal leotard, but it's cut really, really, really low in terms of the cleavage area, and there's panels taken out of the sides of it, so from just roundabout roughly just underneath the breast, right the way down to just above the hip is completely cut out on either side. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of exposure there, and I'm just like, I can't really wear that around the children. So yeah, my friends are just like, oh, why are you not wearing the other one? I'm like, well, there's loads of kids here, and I really don't fancy a child grabbing a hold of their dad's arm like, Daddy, why are you drooling? Because I can tell you this, I've cosplayed Harley Quinn for many years, and I have had many, many, many interesting comments, including when I was posing for photos, someone saying, oh, you look so amazing on your knees right now. Like, thank you very much. I've cosplayed as Catwoman, had some lewd comments. I've cosplayed as Poison Ivy, again, I've had some lewd comments, but See when you become a Twi'lek, holy shit. I'm just like, okay, so does pretty much every third guy I speak to have some fuck fantasy about Twi'leks? And the answer to that question is probably yes.
Probably as many as have fantasies about Slave Leia, if not more.
Yeah, I don't know which is worse, the Slave Leia fantasies or the Twi'lek fantasies, but
I'm gonna go with the Slave Leia because it's had more time.
I want to go. I'd say it'd have to be maybe the Twi'lek because alien.
Yeah. I will say this though: yellow body paint. Oh my god.
Oh god.
What you have to do is you have to put white on first, so it's a couple of coats of white, and then you put a couple of coats of yellow on top of it to get it so it matches the pale yellow of the Leku. If you just put the yellow straight on, you end up looking like a really, really crappy glow-in-the-dark version of Marge Simpson. So you've got to put the white on first as the base, and then you put the yellow on top. But
upper jaundice is important.
Originally, James was going to be my slaver guy, and he was going to take me around a con with a chain around my neck and collar and stuff. And I'm just like, yeah, this is getting really, really close to BDSM right now. Maybe let's steer away from that because there's children. That'll be for the after party. So
I think you just wanted to put the collar and chain on him.
And I will turn around and tell you right now, I am not the wearer of the collar and chain. I'm the one with the chain. Always have been, always will be. Ask anybody who knows me from when I was a student. But yeah, no, that was really cool, and I think I liked it so much because not just it was something different, but the whole thing was completely my design. The character was my design, the way that it looked, it was all my design. It was completely original, it was new ground, and I thought it was very interesting. And if you, at the time, I don't know if that's changed or not, but when you Google like Twi'lek Rapunzel, at the time there wasn't anybody else who'd done it in the world, not that was coming up. Google, so I believe I was the first person to do a Twi'lek Rapunzel. Not just in the UK, but in the world.
Yay! So, what was your most favourite interaction at the events you've been to this year, B?
I've sent a photo to you about this one, or I'm going to. It was actually when my friend was cosplaying as Death from Monty Python, and just looming over me and pointing at me, eating my sandwich, and we captioned it, "Thank God it's not salmon mousse." That was my idea. He was so into that. That was my idea. It was great. I think that was my favourite highlight, was just that bit. It's like, thank God it's not salmon mousse. You know, look, I'm just sitting there and I'm kind of looking at him with a sandwich in my mouth. Like, what the hell is this creep doing? It was great. I really enjoyed it. Something small, but something fun. It made the day.
Awesome. So, what advice would you give to cosplays for 2019?
For me, I left the cosplay community, and I haven't been doing events, and there's been a couple of reasons. I've been really quite busy, but another reason behind it is that there has been a lot of shit said about me. Now, when I was at Edinburgh Comic Con, I was told some rather unpleasant things that upset me a week before my wedding, and they had been intended to upset me a week before my wedding. And it was that maliciousness that really caught me off guard. So what I would say for people in 2019, as paranoid and as horrible as this is going to sound, be careful with who you trust and stick by the people you know are absolutely 100% really there for you. And don't do what I do. Don't be so emotionally sensitive that you let these other people ruin it for you. You go out, you do what you love, regardless of what they say. Just stick by the people that you know are there for you. And you know, you'll have so much fun. You'll actually enjoy yourself. No matter what shit.
Definitely 100%. Yep.
Definitely. So, we have two people left, and that's the Scottish Elliewood and Jester. So, who out of the two of you would like to go next?
I'll go next.
Okie dokie.
I'll try and keep it brief.
What events have you been to this year, hun, and what cosplays have you done?
I've been to a lot of the standard ones that I usually go to, like Capital Sci-Fi Con, both of Icons, MCM Scotland, and that's it. And I've gone to a couple of new ones this year as well. I've went to DCon for the first time, which I really loved. I thought it was a really good con. Can't wait for it this year. This year coming. Also made a trip to SunnyCon, and oh man, that was so good. I absolutely love that con, especially get to meet a few of my pals and a lot of the English Fire Emblem fans as well, because there's not many Scottish ones from what I've found besides me and my pal and a couple of my pals. So it was nice to meet them in person, not just talking through the group that they've got set up. And the last new one I went to would be Film and Comic Con. That was good. It was more to see friends than anything, and I had fun time doing that. Apart from when my cape for Roy fell off.
Oh no.
Luckily, well, it was on stage as well, so it was when I was doing my little performance, so I just kind of did what SpongeBob did, grab it and just kind of shift off stage.
Well, that's good. Any advice you would give to people for 2019 in terms of costumes?
Yeah, don't use safety pins to keep armor on, like kind of chest armor onto your clothes. Mm-hmm. It doesn't work for me. It just ruined the foam completely. So I had to remake it over the holidays, and then it would be the super sticky Velcro stuff, the kind of patches to keep it on, and it's held since MCM Scotland, so that's what I'd advise.
And what has been your most favourite interaction from this past year?
There's a lot of stuff, because it's, well, along with getting my new cosplays out that I really wanted to do for ages, like Roy, and now I finally did a Danganronpa one that I'm happy about, so I'm in the Dangan trash now as Hajime. I'm not quite sure, to be honest. I mean, the only really good thing that kind of came out of the cons this year is that I won the performance at the Icon Masquerade.
Hey, well done.
Because I went up on stage playing my fiddle, which nobody knew about until the day of Icon that I was going to do that.
Aww. Well, that's good, and I'm really glad that you got mentioned in such likes for different events that you were doing.
Mm-hmm.
It's always good when you really get like mentions from people. I was fortunate enough this year to get special mention at the Edinburgh event for the Saturday. And I was like, oh, that's really sweet that you thought of me for special mention. You didn't have to, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Just being kind of like modest, be like, yeah, you didn't need to do that, but thanks anyway. So, last but not by no means least is Jester. Tell us about some of the events that you've been to this year and some of the cosplays that you have done.
I've been to, let's see, how many events have I been to this year? I want to say 6 conventions and roughly 4 or 5 different charity events. Mm-hmm. Of the conventions that I've done that are worth mentioning, Anime Boston, which was in April, I believe. It was Easter weekend. That had to be the highlight of my convention going this year, because I had been working very heavily on my hymn from Powerpuff Girls. I had been planning that one for years, and I had finally found the perfect boots in my size, because you wouldn't believe how hard it is to find stiletto thigh-high boots in a size 12. So those were the literal kick in the ass to get the rest of the outfit together.
I imagine they would be.
Oh yeah, I just did it because I knew it was going to be fun, and at least in the U.S. alone, there's not a lot of people who actually cosplay that character. I think in the entirety of my cosplay, I only know of like maybe 5 individuals in the entire states that cosplay as that character. Mm-hmm. So I went, and I knew it was going to be a rather big hit. I did not anticipate how big of a hit it was going to be. I could not take 5 steps without massive amounts of people just rushing me for pictures.
Awesome. I love it when stuff like that happens. You know, you get people just immediately coming to you saying, I want a picture, I want a picture. You know, it literally says that you've done something.
There we go. Okay. Go figure, it waits till my turn for my Wi-Fi to be backed up.
I was just saying there, it's really great that you had that kind of interaction with people, because it really is something, like, it said something to the cosplayer when you've got so many people rushing you for pictures.
Oh, it was great. Despite my feet screaming at me by the first 2 hours, it was just absolutely wonderful. And then to see people's faces light up, not just when they would see the costume and recognize it, but when I would speak to them in the voice after practicing for so long, and their jaws would literally drop like, oh my god, legit perfection. It made it all worth it. So that costume literally blew up all over with my friends, with con-goers, with everything. I was even asked to march in the Boston Pride Parade as him. So that was a huge honor, and I loved it. Other costumes I've done, which I've spanned out between the other conventions. Clarion the Witch Boy from Young Justice, which is one of my favorites, because I always love the underdog villains and underdog characters, and Clarion in the animated series of Batman had never really gotten much exposure.
It's a very, very obscure character.
Oh, very. And when I saw he was a main reoccurring villain in Young Justice, I was like, this has to happen. I got a black suit coat, modified it so it had the cuffs and the tail.
Oh, did we lose him again?
I don't know if we lost him.
Yeah, I think we lost him again.
Oh no.
Oh,
it might be his connection.
Yeah, it'd probably be his connection.
Oh no.
We'll see if he pops back in. Just fingers
crossed. Yeah, he's left.
Alright, I'll pause it there, guys, so we'll pick back up again in a second. And we're back, guys. So, Justin, you were saying about Clarion being a really underrated villain, which he is, you know.
Oh, very much so. So when I found out he was a main / reoccurring villain in Young Justice, had to make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
Got a suit coat, gotta love sabers. Modified the suit coat so it had the tails and the cuffs that Clarion is known for. Styled the wig and commissioned his cat Teakle.
Now, the Teakle thing was something I wanted to ask you about, because I've seen your Clarion pictures and I love them, because Clarion's one of my favourite obscure villains, and he's also one on my to-do list. But where did you get that Teakle? Because I've seen a few people with Teakles when they're doing Clarion, or Teakle-like toys. So tell us more about how you got yours. Like, what's the story behind that?
I commissioned mine. I had mine custom made by one of my friends, Lady Corvid Cosplay. I had reached out to a bunch of people who I knew could make sewing things and were really good with needle and thread, because I am not. Sent her a bunch of pictures, and I couldn't have been happier with the end result. It is literally right out of the cartoon, perfect. Right down to the collar charm and the eye placement. So I will send you her information at a later point.
Definitely, because Clarion is one of the ones that I was looking at. There's one cosplay that I'm going to do for a photo shoot, and it's the one that I've spoken about with a few people about whether I should and shouldn't do this one, because technically it wasn't me that initially thought of it. It was somebody else, and I'm like, I don't know whether I should or I shouldn't. But Clarion was another one I looked at, and I've done Clarion before for Halloween, his traditional look, but I would really love to do his new 52 look, where he's kind of like in the t-shirt and the the like khaki trousers and those kind of like baseball shoes,
Mm-hmm.
the kind of coat around them. But I wouldn't do the blue skin because, like, I've heard nightmare tales of painting your skin, we'll just say, from somebody who did James Cameron's Avatar, and obviously Bee's mentioning about how with body paint you need to be very, very careful because you could end up looking like a luminous version of something that you don't want to look like.
You also,
Oh yeah, even with
if you put the white base on first as well, it also minimises the likelihood of you dyeing your skin, because I remember when I did green Ivy the first time round, I ended up looking like Elphaba from Wicked, which was okay, but there was a green tinge all the way over my skin for about a week because it's pigment that makes the colours, and if you put them straight on your skin, you'll end up dyeing it a bit. So
another trick I've heard for body painting is if you mix saline in with the body paint, it gives it a much more opaque look to it, as well as it doesn't sweat off. It kind of waterproofs it a little more.
That's something that was probably passed along to my friend bodybuilder Matt, who we'll give a shout out to just now because I just mentioned his name. He has done the James Cameron Avatar characters before, the Na'vi ones.
Yep.
And if you guys ever get the opportunity to check out his Na'vi ones, take it because they're amazing. And I remember in his interview, he told me when he first did that, he had to hand paint his entire body at that point because he didn't have an airbrush. But as soon as he got an airbrush, it made that like particular scenario so much faster.
Oh yeah, it does. It always does.
So quicker. And I can like fathom how long it would have taken him to not airbrush it on. You know, like, because
Oh yeah.
seeing, knowing that it would take about, I think he said up to about an hour and 30 minutes with the airbrush. I was like, well, you're adding more to that time when you're not airbrushing it, so.
Yeah.
Um,
And I know I've come into trouble with the him makeup. I end up finding red paint in my ears and in my nose for like another week. So like I'll go and clean my ears or blow my nose and be like, am I bleeding? Oh wait, no, I cosplayed him a week ago. That's normal.
I think that's where I got off really lightly this year because I didn't have to apply a crap ton of makeup. So I'm this the sneaky one that just walks to the side and says, "Haha, y'all! I didn't have to wear too much makeup." No.
I was unfortunate that this year I completely forgot about this cosplay, but I did Tetsu from My Hero Academia. But I also did his because his quirk is metal, is that he can make his skin into metal. So to do that, I had silver kind of face paint on my skin. I didn't seal it properly, so it was every so often I was scratching it and doing all this, and it was just coming off, and it was just a mess.
Oh yeah.
Sorry about
That's fine. So one question I'm going to ask you, Jester, is what was your most favourite interaction with anyone from the events that you went to this year?
I would have to say that my absolute favorite interaction out of all of the events that I've gone to this year was at the Boston Pride Parade, marching as him. The overwhelming love for not even just the event itself, but just hearing people scream out, "Oh my God, it's him from Powerpuff Girls!" It was just absolutely overwhelming in so many ways. It was just great. Like, you know, they'd see all these cosplayers marching, and then I'd come around the corner waving my claws, smiling, strutting my stuff the whole way, walking the streets of Boston in the high heels. Just like the sheer joy it brought was just amazing. And then the laughter that would happen when I'd have my handler come over to pull my boot back up to my thigh.
Did you not get it on video?
I think I was on video at one point. I don't necessarily know because I was so preoccupied between not rolling my ankle, staying hydrated, and trying to ignore that my feet were very much unhappy with me.
Okay.
But if you're ever in Boston, you'll see how uneven these gravel / brick roads actually are, but you'll never truly understand how uneven these streets are until you walk them for 3 hours in high heel boots in 80-degree weather, wearing a cardigan sweater and a full bodysuit.
All right, fair enough.
It was a lot, but it was sure.
I'm just saying there, I'm not liable to do that anytime soon, but who knows? You never know. Maybe in the future.
Just go for a 3-mile hike wearing 3-inch high heel boots. You'll understand.
No, thank you.
Yeah, exactly. My sentiments, exactly. No thanks. So, lastly, I'm going to ask all of you guys, and please take it one person at a time. I don't want everyone answering at once.
No worries.
Who or what was your most favourite cosplay that somebody else has done from this year?
Oh, that's a tricky one, actually.
And that's what we'll close this session on. So I'll go first and say I have to admit I'm kind of torn because I've got 2 or 3 people here, but I'm going to put my favourite cosplay this year by somebody else, definitely Little Bo, because she does an amazing job with all of her costumes, and even though she's been known for doing the kind of centaurish type creature, she's very good at mixing it up. So it's not always the same type of centaur or unicorn or whatever that you're going to see. You know, it's always a little different. So I'm going with Little Bo. What about you guys?
See, I'm torn because there are 2 specific ones that I was just absolutely fanboying over. So if I can just say 2, is that okay?
Mm-hmm. That's fine.
So the first one, which it was the first time I'd ever seen anyone do it. It was Mrs. Doubtfire.
Oh, I've seen that one.
It was literally, she went above and beyond, had the scorched mark boobs on the shirt, and 2 frying pan lids, and she was walking around the convention, smashing them against herself, putting out the imaginary fire, and my childhood was just absolutely, like, oh my god, I cried a little bit, and I got a video of her being like, whoo! Putting out the fire. And the second one was from my friend who goes by the name Cares a Lot Cosplay. And I'm sure B will appreciate this one. It was a Harley Quinn Twi'lek mashup.
Yes.
And it was by far one of the most original Harley Quinn mashups that I have ever seen. And it was highly recognizable. She did the bounty hunter garb with I forget the name of them. What are the tails? The head, the laku, and the makeup and everything. And it was just absolutely, like, I saw it and I was awestruck. I had never seen a Harley Quinn mashup much like that, and it was just so original. Wonderfully done, and something that I didn't think I'd ever see. And I've seen a lot of Harley Quinn cosplays.
It's funny that you say that about Mrs. Doubtfire, because that just reminds me of last year at Comic-Con in Glasgow. Some of you guys might remember Scottish Moor.
Yes, I think I heard that one.
I'll explain this to you because you weren't actually there, but it was kind of an original character I created myself. It came about when my husband and I were messing around and saying, can you imagine if slasher movie villains, had that Scottish mother? So it originally
Oh no!
Phone to my ear, and it was like, "Yes, that's fine, Pamela. Don't worry. I'll have a word with him." Frederick, and then it's Freddy Krueger, and he's like, "Yes, Mom." I was like, "That was Mrs. Voorhees on the phone. She says you've been battering a wee Jason. Is that right?" And he went, "Well, maybe I did." And I grabbed a hold of him by the ear and dragged him across the living room, and we.
Oh my gosh! Yes.
When I brought Scottish Moor to the Comic-Con, I was in character the entire time. And when it was the Marvel vs. DC meet, I sat down, took my knitting and my needles out of my basket with the shortbread, and I told them all that they better play nicely, otherwise they're all getting grounded.
That's beautiful.
Poor soul.
Of that meet was just of me knitting. And I was knitting. I was genuinely knitting.
That's awesome.
Oh, is that the time that I met you? Like, you recognised me, but I didn't recognise you right away.
Quite possibly. We just came up to people and sat down like, "Oh, hello, dear. I've not seen you in so long. How's your mammy doing?" And I'm like, "Oh, that's lovely, dear." And I'm knitting whilst I'm "Oh, that's absolutely wonderful, dear. I'm so pleased for you."
Wow.
So that is, sorry, that was a wee side note, but the Mrs. Doubtfire thing reminded me of that, because a lot of people said that was a bit like Mrs. Doubtfire crossed with Isa from Still Game.
Yeah.
So anyway, sorry guys, continue.
Sure.
Well, it was actually yourself that we're kind of at. So, other cosplays that you've seen this year that people have done that you just thought, wow.
Okay, so one of them is the guy from Edinburgh Comic Con who wanders around in full metal plate armor for the Witch King of Agmar.
Which are the guy you're on about?
On my list, I really, really want to do it, and even better than that, I know someone who can make me the armor.
I actually know somebody who does the Witch King of Agmar. And a lot of people seem to think that they're a guy, and they're actually a girl.
Yeah, the ultimate irony. I can be killed by no man, but I am woman. Anyway, so there's that, and the second one, I do have to give that to my husband, and that was when James did his Green Goblin.
I haven't seen
Which
that
version?
yet, so you're gonna...
He kind of amalgamated it himself, so we got like, he got a goblin mask with a really long nose, and he put that on his head. It was really, really detailed, but he did some latex stuff as well, with around about his mouth and stuff. It was pretty good. We designed some of the pumpkin bombs, but he never brought all of them. I mean, it was good, and he enjoyed it, but I was a bit upset because we originally had it planned that I was going to be Gwen Stacy, and he was going to come up and kill me every time I was talking to a Spider-Man. So I'd just be talking with a Spider-Man, and he'd come up behind me and stab me in the side, and I'd just like die on the floor. And we also planned that I was going to be the glider.
Oh.
I was going to wear like a black, like full-length unitard thing and just run around with a glider, and then he's like, "I'm hopping on my glider," and I would lie on the floor on my stomach with a glider over my back, and he'd stand on me.
All right.
So, Henry, what about yourself? Who is somebody that you've seen that you just thought was amazing this year?
There was two things. One is funny, and the other one I was really impressed of. Totally. There was a cosplay group, but I'll get to that one, the second one. The first one, the funny one I ever seen was, you guys will probably like this, right? Someone dressed up as Squidward from SpongeBob SquarePants at MCM London. I am no kidding. And then when I was passing by, I managed to get a photo of his costume. I asked him, do the dab thing, like one of the memes on the videos. He couldn't do it, and then basically he actually flipped off, and I was like, you know what, I'll take the picture of it. It works. It was funny. I laughed so much. I was like, I said to my friend next to me, I was like, wait a minute, I cannot believe we found this guy, man. I can't believe it. He dressed up as Squidward, man. That's the first ever seen someone do that. You know what I mean? So that was really funny. I found it hilarious. The second one, there was a cosplay group. There was a group of girls. there was like 4 of them. They were dressed up as anime video games called Doki Doki, I think it's called.
Doki Doki Lecture Club.
Yes, that's the one. Yep, that really impressed me at that point when I first seen the group of them dressed up. So I don't know if they were handmade or basically they bought the costume, but they were a really lovely bunch of girls. And I mean, that they were very generous. I asked them for a photo, and then basically I've done videos for them and such, and then they were very lovely that like they were speaking to me, and then they wanted to get to know me more and such. And I told them like I love your costumes totally. And it's just I found that I told them I was really impressed by it, and they liked my compliments. So yeah, it was pretty cool. I mean, when I first met them, hopefully I will see them again in the near future.
Awesome. So we're gonna, with that, guys, bring this to a close. And before we do that, these guys are all cosplayers that are with me. And they all have their own social media outlets. So if you guys would like to see where our viewers can follow you, if you wish to do so. If you don't have a place where they can follow you, then that's fair enough. So we'll start with the person that we've just recently heard from. Zactus, where can we hear from you if we have anything we want to ask, or even if we just want to follow you?
You can ask me on my Facebook cosplay page, which is the full one, which is Zactus Striker Cosplay. Which I mentioned, so you can find me on Facebook. My official page, and also you can find me on Instagram, which is as a Henry RKO Zactus, which is like my code name, and also you can find me on YouTube, which is Henry Zactus Cosplay. So it's like a fun YouTube channel that I usually do for the past so long. So I do a lot of videos.
Awesome. There will be links to all of these various places, guys, in the description of this video, so don't panic if you didn't catch any of it. So, B, where can we follow you on social media?
It depends what you want to follow. If you want to follow my cosplay stuff, you can find me under B Cosplay, so that's Bumblebee, like BEE Cosplay. You can also find the stuff that I do with my husband under Camby Cosplay, so that's CAMBE. If you want to follow my writing stuff, it's B Parkins Cameron. If you want to follow the theatre stuff, it's Left Behind.
Awesome. How about yourself, Jester? Where can we follow you if there's anything that we want to see?
I have 3 platforms at the moment that I primarily use. There's J Jester Cosplay on Facebook. That gets updated relatively frequently. There's Jester4692 on Instagram. And another one that I use is an app called TikTok. That's TikTok. And that particular one, you can find me as J Jester Cosplay. That particular app I have a lot of fun with and is updated the most frequently. It's a lot of lip syncing, 15-second videos of different cosplays and characters that I do.
Okay. And lastly, Scottish Hollywood, where can we find you if there's anything we want to follow you on?
I've got my Facebook page, which is the Scottish Hollywood Cosplay. I think last time I was on here I mentioned that. I've also got my YouTube, which is not as much cosplay focused, more like drawing, animations, and video game related. This is a doozy to say, but Paper Mario TTYD Fan 1.
Awesome.
And
so,
one more. Because I recently got an Instagram, which is Roy Boy the Haji meme.
Awesome. So, guys, if you want to follow any of these people, which I suggest you do because they're all amazing, and they can all pay me like £10 for saying that in a minute or two. But if you want more from me, you can obviously see what else I'm up to on my YouTube, where I do screen-to-screen interviews with cosplayers from all around the world. a little series there called Inside Cosplay. There also will be a brand new episode, hopefully in the new year, of the Behind the Mask interviews that I've been doing with people from a little show called Who Wants to Be a Superhero, which was the brainchild and does star the amazing Stan Lee. Other places that you can catch me is obviously on Facebook, where I have the wonderful Jai at iGameOnline.net Facebook page. You can also find me on Instagram on the same place, and, well, maybe in a few other places in the near future. But do go check out the YouTube channel for other stuff that I'm doing, guys, like the Behind the Cosplay and, well, Inside Cosplay, Behind the Mask, and any LP that I'm doing. Currently working my way through the Lego DC Supervillains game, so do go and check that out. Because I made a brand new intro for that, and I love it. But in the meantime, guys, I hope you've had a wonderful time here with us, and, well, we'll see you all again really soon. So, bye everyone. You can all say goodbye.
See ya.
Bye, guys.